Good morning and welcome to the Tuesday morning breath work. I am excited about today's focus, which came through as clearing the pathway for miracles and any aspect of ourselves that does not believe that miracles are possible or doesn't believe miracles are possible for ourselves, specifically for you, or for myself, for me. Any doubting and denying that happens around the idea of a miracle transpiring, and then really calling in that full trust and belief in miracles for yourself, right? Putting that oxygen mask on yourself first, and then miracles for the earth, for the planet, for humanity, taking it out a little bit wider so that we can really call in something to happen for humanity that, or for the planet, that maybe didn't seem possible. And then it happens, right? Intention is very powerful, and us doing our own personal work is very powerful. And it is the way that it's the vehicle through which we, I believe, are most potent to make changes. And of course, some of us are called to make changes by, say, running for office or um, making some sort of protest. Although I do feel like the context is extremely important when we're doing work uh, that is, say, anti something, rather than being anti, finding the positive context of what you're calling in, right? So rather than being like anti mandates, we could be, or I personally am pro choice. And when I say that, I don't think it's not that opted, co-opted tag of pro-choice, but rather pro-choosing for yourself. And in my reality, I am the best person to make the choice for myself. And you're the best person to make the choice for you. And I don't believe it's other people's choice to choose what you do with your body or even how you spend your time. It's your choice. And certainly when it comes to the way you think, feel, all of these things that we have happening internally, they're our choice. And when I was teaching that retreat, there was a fella in the retreat. I'm talking about the one around the solstice, that said he did not believe that we have free will, and his reason came through the sense that we don't get to choose what we think about. Well, I think that we actually do get to choose, and that we have habits of thinking of things that limit us, that, say, doubting and denying in potential outcomes, that even if we really sense or feel that those outcomes are the best possible outcomes, we have a habit of coming in and thinking, no, that's not possible, or sabotaging. Or, say, for instance, there's a specific program or agenda that's being continuously offered. Fear, 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 for instance. Um, you have the choice to unplug from that and to start to take the reins of your own mind. And when we do that, we realize we have the choice, and we also need to build the muscle um, to really think in a way that's in alignment with our hearts and with what we, as conscious human beings, as awake human beings, think about what you want to bring into your life. Think about what you want to manifest in the reality of the world, and taming the mind. It's a tool. And when I speak of the mind, um, there's the mental body, which takes care of mental processing and imagination, imagery, conjuring up these different visual stories that play out. And then there's that ego aspect, which in some contexts, in some situations, for instance, the spiritual teacher that I had as a child or a young adult, he spoke of the mind as the ego and the Maya, like the illusion, right? And the ego's job is to protect us. And so sometimes that's where we see oh, I'm really getting off on a tangent now. I should probably bring it back in, but that's where we see like mental health issues where the ego, for instance, the mental health issue that I seem to have had come into my life the most, I would say, that I experience and have experienced through my life, through parent, um, close friends, and even boyfriend with bipolar disorder. And what I really observed with the bipolar disorder is the ego, either in the depression, just like you're a piece of shit, you're not worthy, bad, 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 protecting that one from possible self-aggrandization, which on the manic side, the ego is like, you're better than everyone else, you're the messiah, you're the hottest guy in the room, you're this, you're that, like everybody wants you and everybody needs your protection. So there's kind of like this place where the ego, through its desire to protect the self, the perceived illusory personality as who I am, takes this seesaw effect of either going wrong, 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 bad, 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 or get up on that pedestal and let everyone see that you're amazing. And the truth is, we are amazing. But when our egos are the ones holding that, it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same. There's two different places. So there's some information about what we talk about with the mind. And the mind is the one that takes hold of that fear and uses it as protection. And then there is some like there's some value there. I'm not going to say abolish the ego. Humans were born, and then each one of us was born, and then an ego personality developed. Now, if that weren't meant to be, it wouldn't be what happens, right? And through childhood traumas and, in my world, past life, but we could also say ancestral stories and limitations, all this different inputs during that time when we were, very impressionable, our brains in theta state for several years when we first come to the planet. We're getting programmed, generally speaking, in an unconscious way. I think nowadays there are quite a few people who are consciously programming their children as much as possible. But there's a lot of unconscious programming that goes on. And I'm quite certain that my parents were unconsciously programming me. And as the oldest of 5 children, I could say that there was some unconscious programming going on when I was growing up. And even with my own children, my own doubts, my own fears, they come through, right? So those things all form that personality, that ego. And what we're doing now and the work that we do in this environment, bringing it back, circling back. I'm so funny. We can shift those programs. They're deep, and they do need us to really let's see. We need to take the reins, and we need to hold the reins. And sometimes I find myself caught up, entangled. And guess what? Take the reins back. As soon as you see it, you get the opportunity to shift it. And sometimes you see it and you're ready, you want to shift it. Or sometimes you see it and you're not even ready to shift it. Let it all be okay. Let it all be fine. And you're moving yourself right back into holding the reins and consciously thinking up and choosing your reality in the way that you want to engage the world, the way that you want your reality to play out. How do you want to perceive what's going on? And then what are you calling in, right? I think I'm in a flight path here. As you can see, I'm in a new environment. So anyway, hopefully we'll have, just a couple planes, if any. That could have been the last one. So let's get right to it. After my little, let's say rant, because it was like an introduction. So let's call in some energy to move anything that stands in the way of you receiving miracles in your life. And one of the things that if I don't bring it back at the end, I do want to just point out, acknowledging miracles it's paramount to your own belief and building that muscle that says, oh wow, miracles are happening all around me. It's perception. And as for instance, if you decided, oh, I'm ready for a new car, and there's this car that you see that you're like for instance, I had this happen, right, where I wanted, all of a sudden, I knew that I needed a different vehicle. I was driving a very, very large vehicle, and my life had changed, and that vehicle was no longer the ideal for me. And I saw this CRV, this white CRV, as a matter of fact. And it was, at the time, it was a new body style. And I looked at it and I was like, that's it. That's the car. And everywhere I went, I saw them all of a sudden, right? They were everywhere. And then of course, I went down to the Honda dealership and I got myself a Honda CRV. And I loved that car. I loved it. And then I was guided that it was time to get another car, 10 years. And this time I actually got the white one, same CRV again. And dare I say, I love this one twice as much. But it's like your awareness brings in, and it's not because it's white. It's just, I don't know. I just love it. And I bought it all by myself, which can be a big deal, when you go to the dealership and it's just you and you're buying it, or when you're buying your house all by yourself. It's a big deal sometimes. It has been for me. Anyway, enough rambling, but just noticing things, noticing miracles. It helps to perpetuate. And you're like, oh, wow, look, there's another miracle. So really invite you to bring that into your awareness, right? The miracles, and acknowledge them. And this is also how, when I'm teaching people to really engage their guidance, it's the same thing. So, in one more teaching piece, when you have an intuition or wisdom that comes through and you act upon it, and everything falls into place and it feels like, oh yeah, and you really sense that I was guided, I felt an intuition and I went there, and when I did, whoa, that was the right choice for me. Pat yourself on the back in the way that you do. It doesn't need to be like, it's just that acknowledgement. Yeah. Same thing for when you have an intuition and you don't say anything or you don't act upon it. And then you see what plays out and you went, man, I knew, for instance, a great example is like, if you have keys on, that are, for instance, a key ring that has whatever miscellaneous keys on it, and you see it as you're walking out the door, and it sort of lights up, or there's this little voice inside your head and says, grab those keys, and you're like, I don't need those keys for anything. Lo and behold, you will find that if there was an intuition, you'll need those keys, or you'll be glad you had them for whatever reason. So acknowledging both when it comes to fruition and you see the evidence of your intuition in action, creating your life with more ease and grace, more flow, and also acknowledging when you have an intuition, you don't follow it, and you see where that would have made a difference. Like yesterday, it wasn't quite, I had the intuition. I saw a little boy and he was running. And for the first time in this particular situation, I've seen lots of kids running. Kids like to run. But this particular moment, about to yell out, no running. I was just about to say something loud, but I got the intuition as, like, I would say 2 seconds before this kid biffed it in like a big way. It was like I knew that was dangerous. Bump, bump, and then it just played out. I don't feel like I could have stopped it in the way that it came to me. It came to me really clear, like, that is so dangerous. And then boom, the kid was just chipped a tooth, like the whole deal. But I was like, my guidance said. And then right after that, I saw another little boy and I was like, no running. And he caught his shoe. And this is the same place I've seen other kids playing, running, whatever, caught his shoe on that step and almost fell. But his dad was right there too, because his dad was like, stop, and it was interesting. I almost felt like I should go over there and clear the energy or something. But anyway, okay. I have a way, huh? Just going on and on. How about if I stop the recording and then I'll start it again with just the breath work, and this part will be optional. I'm gonna stop it.